They keep telling you Africa can't govern itself. They point to the poverty, the conflict, the instability. And they say, see, these people need our help. But what they never tell you is who created those conditions in the first place. And they definitely don't want you to know about a 37-year-old man in West Africa who looked that lie dead in the face and said, no, not today. His name is Ibrahim Traore. He runs Burkina Faso. And right now, he is doing something that has the most powerful governments on earth extremely uncomfortable. The poverty is real. The instability is real. But here is what they won't say on the news. Both of those things were engineered. Debt traps, currency control, assassinations, a system built over decades to make sure Africa stayed dependent and stayed quiet. And now, a young captain from a small town called Bondokwi is tearing pages out of that playbook. That is why they fear him. And that is exactly why you need to know his story. Because what is happening to Burkina Faso right now is connected to what happened to your neighborhood, your grandparents, and every black leader this country ever tried to silence. Let's go back to October 15, 1987. Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. It's late afternoon. A man named Thomas Sankara is meeting with colleagues. He is 37 years old. He has been president for 4 years. In that time, he renamed his country, changed it from the colonial name French Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, meaning land of upright men. He vaccinated 2.5 million children in 1 week. He planted over 10 million trees to fight the desert. He told African nations to stop paying their colonial debt. He kicked out the French. He drove a cheap car while other leaders rode in luxury. He told the people, we don't need them. Then gunmen walked into that room. Sankara and 12 of his officials were killed. His former best friend, a man named Blaise Compaoré, took power the next day. Within weeks, Compaoré reopened the doors to France. All of Sankara's reforms were reversed. In 2022, Compaoré was sentenced to life in prison for what he did, but Sankara was already gone. 35 years gone. Now here is where it gets important. Ibrahim Traoré was born 1 year after Sankara was killed. He grew up in the shadow of that story. He studied at the University of Ouagadougou, joined the army in 2010, served as a UN peacekeeper in Mali, and came back to fight extremist groups in the north. He watched his country burn from the inside, while French forces stood nearby and, by most accounts in the region, did very little. On September 30th, 2022, at 34 years old, the exact same age Sankara was when he took power, Traoré led a coup, removed the previous military leader, and stood before his country, the youngest head of state in the world at the time, and the world took notice. Hold that thought for a second. If stories like this one matter to you, and they should, subscribe to Black Stories Untold. We dig up the history they buried. Now, back to Traoré. Within months of taking power, he expelled French military forces from Burkina Faso entirely. He tore up military agreements. He nationalized gold mines. He built an alliance with Mali and Niger, 3 nations, all post-coup, all fed up. And on September 26, 2023, they formally created the Alliance of Sahel States, a new bloc, no France, no Western strings. And in January 2024, Russian military personnel arrived to fill the security gap. By 2025, Burkina Faso was pushing through a full nationalization of foreign mining assets and building the country's first gold refinery. Burkina Faso is Africa's 4th largest gold producer. That gold was leaving the country and making someone else rich. Traoré decided that needed to stop. Now here is what you need to understand about why this is so threatening, and this is where the full picture starts coming into focus. Because what is happening in Burkina Faso is not a random African political story. It is the latest chapter in a very long book, a book with American pages in it too. In 1945, France created the CFA franc by government decree, one currency controlled by Paris, used by 14 African nations covering over 210 million people. France holds a voting seat on the central bank board that controls this currency. The African nations? Some of them only get an advisory role, not a vote, advice. Think about what that means. These are supposedly independent countries. They have their own presidents, their own flags, their own armies, but their money, The thing that controls every price, every loan, every trade deal, that is still in French hands. Scholars have called it the most blatant example of functioning neo-colonialism in Africa today. Traore has called it exactly what it is, a leash. Now connect that to something you might know better. Picture this. It is 1921, Greenwood, Oklahoma. Black Wall Street, the wealthiest black community in the United States. Black-owned banks, hospitals, law offices, hotels, real wealth, generational wealth. On the night of May 31st and into June 1st, a mob attacked. They burned more than 35 square blocks to the ground. Planes circled overhead and dropped flammable material onto buildings. This is documented. Between 26 and 300 people were killed. Historians believe the real number is closer to 300. Nearly 10,000 black people were left without homes. And for decades after, the city said nothing. No memorial, no acknowledgement, a deliberate cover-up. A 2001 commission found that city officials did not just fail to stop it, they participated in it. This is the same machine. Different continent, different decade, same function. Destroy black wealth before it becomes black power. And it was not just bombs and fire. The FBI ran a program called COINTELPRO from 1956 to 1971, covert, illegal, aimed at surveilling and destroying black political organizations. The Black Panther Party, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the NAACP, Marcus Garvey, Thurgood Marshall, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Jr. The FBI sent King a letter telling him to take his own life. They wiretapped his phones. They fed lies to newspapers. They tried to destroy him from the inside out. In 1968, he was killed. The official story says it was one man, James Earl Ray, acting alone. But in 1999, a civil jury found that King was the victim of a conspiracy, and Coretta Scott King said publicly that there was abundant evidence of a major high-level conspiracy in her husband's assassination. The House Select Committee on Assassinations back in 1979 said a conspiracy was likely. Documents are still classified. The full story is still being fought for. What is not disputed is this: the FBI spent over a decade trying to destroy the man. That is not theory. That is record. This is exactly where everything connects. The same foreign policy machine that killed Lumumba, destabilized Congo, helped remove Sankara, and bombed Libya back into chaos. That machine has a domestic version, and its targets are always the same: black people with power, black people with money, and black people with the courage to say, "We don't need you anymore." Let's talk about Patrice Lumumba for a moment, because this one needs to land hard. Lumumba was the first prime minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo. He took office in June 1960. By September, he had been removed. By January 1961, he was dead. The CIA had plotted to kill him. The Church Committee confirmed in 1975 that CIA Director Allen Dulles had ordered Lumumba's assassination as, and these are the words from the declassified cable, an urgent and prime objective. Belgium's own parliamentary investigation in 2001 confirmed Belgian government guilt in his killing and triggered an official apology. Congo had copper, uranium, diamonds, cobalt. Lumumba wanted it to belong to Congolese people. He was dead within 7 months of taking office. Then there is Muammar Gaddafi. Whatever you think of the man, hear this: Libya had no debt. Not to the IMF, not to the World Bank, not to anyone. Professor Jean-Emmanuel Pondy said flatly that Western governments had no control over Gaddafi because he owed them nothing. In 2011, NATO intervened in Libya, calling it a humanitarian mission. Researchers later found that the intervention increased the duration of the conflict 6 times over and multiplied the death toll by at least 7. Gaddafi died. Libya became chaos, and Western oil interests walked back in. Sankara, Lumumba, Gaddafi, 3 men, 3 countries, 3 attempts at real sovereignty. all ended the same way. Traoré knows this history. He has lived inside it. He grew up in the country where Sankara was killed. He was 1 year old when it happened. And when he took power, one of the first things his government did was begin building a memorial to Sankara. That memorial was officially inaugurated on May 17, 2025. African heads of state flew in. The crowd was enormous. And when Traoré walked into the inauguration of Ghana's new president in January 2025, among 21 African leaders present, he received the loudest applause. The loudest. That is not nothing. That is a signal from a continent that is watching and waiting and hoping that this time the ending is different. Now let's be straight about something. This documentary is not saying Traoré is a perfect man or perfect leader. He has made moves that cannot be defended. In 2024, he ordered journalists who criticized his government detained and conscripted into the military. In January 2026, he dissolved all political parties in the country. In September 2025, his government criminalized homosexuality. These are real authoritarian actions, and they need to be said out loud. Sankara himself was a different kind of leader, one who laid out his ideology clearly, critiqued both Western and Soviet imperialism, and governed with transparency. Some analysts say Traoré has not yet earned that comparison. That is a fair challenge. What cannot be disputed is what he has actually done. Expelled a colonial military, nationalized resources, built a regional alliance, and refused to be controlled. That is real. Whether the rest of him matches that record, that is still being written. What is not being written, what is being deliberately left out of Western media coverage, is the deeper pattern. Because if you understand what is happening in Burkina Faso, you start asking uncomfortable questions about what happened here. Why was every black leader who built independent power surveilled, sabotaged, or killed? Why were COINTELPRO records kept classified for decades? Why did it take until 2001 for anyone to acknowledge what happened in Tulsa? Why are the French archives on Sankara still sealed? Macron promised to open them in 2017. As of now, those documents have not appeared. The answer is the same every time, because the story, once fully told, exposes the system. Not the actions of one bad actor, not a rogue agent or a corrupt official. The system. The same economic machine that needed Africa's gold to keep flowing into European hands needed Black American wealth to stay suppressed. Redlining was not an accident. It was federal policy written into the Homeowners Loan Corporation maps starting in the 1930s, coloring black neighborhoods red and cutting them off from loans, investment, and growth. Predatory lending in the 2000s stripped an estimated $186 billion in wealth from Black and Latino families in the lead-up to the 2008 financial collapse. These are not separate stories. They are the same story told in different zip codes. Ibrahim Traoré is dangerous to that system, not because he has solved every problem in Burkina Faso. He is not. The security crisis is real. Over 40% of the country's territory has been compromised by extremist violence. The death toll from that violence nearly doubled between 2022 and 2024, rising from 3,621 to 6,389 lives lost in a single year. The poverty is severe. Over 64% of the population is classified as multidimensionally poor. These are facts. They matter. But Traoré is dangerous to that system because of what he represents. A young black man who studied the playbook they used on every leader before him and said, "I see it. I know the pattern. And I am not going to make it easy for you." Every coup attempt against him, and there have been at least 5 in 3 years, is evidence that somebody wants him gone. In April 2025, his government accused the government of Ivory Coast of backing one of those attempts. In January 2026, another assassination plot was stopped. They have not gotten him yet, and that terrifies the right people. Here is the grand truth this whole story points to. The CFA Franc, redlining, COINTELPRO, the killing of Sankara, the destruction of Black Wall Street. These are not separate chapters. They are the same chapter, written by the same hand, with the same goal. Keep Black people, whether in Ouagadougou or Oklahoma City, whether in Kinshasa or Chicago, keep them fragmented, dependent, and away from their own wealth. And when someone rises up who understands the full design of that system, remove them before the message spreads. The reason Traore's name is not on every American news channel right now is the same reason you never learned about Black Wall Street in school. The same reason COINTELPRO files are still being fought over in courts. The same reason Sankara's assassination files are still locked in a Paris archive. Knowing the full story gives people power, and the system was never built to share that. So when you see Ibrahim Traore trending on your timeline, do not just see a military leader in a West African country. See the latest round of a fight that is centuries old. See Sankara's student. See what Lumumba was reaching for before they took him out. See what our people in Tulsa were building before the planes came. See what King was organizing before the bullet found him. The thread runs straight. The playbook has not changed. What has changed is that more people are reading it. This was Black Stories Untold. And before you go, family, I have been putting something together for you, a gift. Everything we cover on this channel, the hidden history, the patterns, the names they buried, I have been compiling it into something you can actually keep and share. If that is something you want to be part of, go check it out at blackstories-untold.com. The link is in the description. As always, thank you for watching.